Welcome to Now Found. My name is Courtney Cohen. Have you ever experienced being rejected by someone that you love, someone you care about? Over the years, several times, my husband and I have experienced rejection from family or friends, and for lots of different reasons, really. But ultimately, the emotions and the root cause are pretty much the same. The emotions are deep and they are abundant. When you experience being rejected by somebody that you have invested in, that you care about, that you love, it is painful. There are all kinds of feelings that emerge, like anger and confusion and sometimes guilt. You could experience grief, longing for what could be, what should be, what you want, what you hope for. There can also be this paradox of emotions that happen at the same time when you catch wind of something really wonderful happening in that person's life, and you get excited for them because it's a big deal, and yet at the same time you feel devastated that you don't get to personally be a part of that celebration. It's hard. Rejection is hard, and oftentimes it's confusing. But really, I have found that there's oftentimes a root cause that is pretty much the same across the board of rejection. Ultimately, the root cause of rejection is that we've believed a lie. We could believe a lie about who someone is. We could get in our head a misperception of someone's true character, of who they really are. Because at the end of the day, no matter how flawed each of us really are, we are all made in the image of God. Therefore, we all have intrinsic value just because we exist, just because we're here. So when we reject somebody because we have this idea that they are this type of person, then we remove some of their humanity. We remove some of their value. And when we remove humanity and intrinsic God-given value from another person, it's a lot easier to reject them. We can also believe a lie about the situation. This oftentimes has been the biggest issue that we've encountered in our lives, is at some point, something has been misunderstood. Something has been miscommunicated. Maybe we said something and it was taken completely out of context and it wasn't our heart at all. And that can cause a rift in the relationship that may last months or years or forever. Believing a lie about a situation can open a door for rejection to take place. The way to work through believing a lie about a situation is really communication. Talking through things. Hey, when you said this, to me, it sounded like you were belittling me or putting me down or whatever the situation is. But going to that person saying, hey, when you said this or when you did this, this is how I perceived it. Is that right? And giving them a chance to explain, giving them an opportunity to set things straight if anything has been misunderstood. We can also believe a lie about how unforgivable it is. Thinking that that person has just gone too far and I can never forgive them. Now, I don't remember who said it, but it's probably the best analogy that I've heard about unforgiveness. When we hold on to unforgiveness, it's like we drink poison and expect it to kill the other person. That's ludicrous. That's madness. That doesn't do anything. When we hold on to unforgiveness, onto bitterness, that's just poisoning us. It's not necessarily hurting them. It's just hurting us. We can also believe a lie about how unredeemable a situation is. It's just too far gone. It's too far gone. It's too much work. It's too beyond what I'm capable of handling. We can believe that lie. And then one more lie that we can believe is that there's always going to be a tomorrow. We can just fix it then. We'll just deal with it tomorrow or next week or next year. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. So why not embrace today? We can believe a lie that will get in the way of us using the time that we have. Relationships are two-way streets. It takes both people to make a relationship work. Just like our relationships with God, it requires so much more than just us throwing out token prayers. It requires us listening to him and involving him in our everyday situation. Same thing with people. We need to be communicating with them. Well, if they're rejecting us, then how do we do that? How do we do our part in the face of being rejected? While we're in the midst of experiencing rejection, we can at least get our side right. One thing that we can do is to ask God for help on forgiving. Sometimes forgiveness is hard, and sometimes we need his help to soften our hearts, to take away some of that hardness that we feel, and to help us to forgive that person for whatever is going on, for whatever hurts are there. We can also ask God to help us identify any lies that we may have believed. Are we believing anything that's getting in the way of this relationship being restored? Another important thing to ask him for is for hope. In 1 Corinthians 13, it says, love always hopes. And sometimes rejection can kill hope. Hope that something good is possible. And God can restore that hope to us. So we can just ask him, Lord, give me hope for this situation, because right now I'm not feeling it. Right now it feels too hopeless. So I need you to intervene and restore that hope that is just dead in me. We also need to ask him for his perspective on that person and on that situation. God, what is your perspective about this? Because when we depend on how we perceive things, when we just lean on our understanding, we are leaning on what is limited. But when we can get a hold of his perspective of how he sees that person, that is going to prepare our hearts to be ready for that moment when they do come back. When they do say, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for what happened. And that doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's a good thing for us to be prepared. Today, I want to offer up a resource, my book called Chronic Healing. Chronic Healing is all about discovering peace and purpose in the midst of ongoing, difficult life circumstances. So I want to encourage you to go get a copy at nowfound.org. Chronic Healing is also available on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. Thank you so much for being here. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a thing, and always remember that you are never too lost to be found.